Sorry, you know. Well, I think we could actually we probably got a forum here. Yes. So yeah, Miss Ramsey. Rebecca won't be here. Okay, Rebecca won't. Yeah, in that case, I think we can get started. I think we've got somebody
Yes.
new.
I am new, yes. Emily Harris. I'm very pleased to be joining you. Yeah, this is a new thing for me. Cool. But I'm very excited. I'm a Helena gal through and through, so this is something that I'm very interested in.
Cool, we're glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
My name's Amanda Reese, and I'm the chair. Maybe just go around it like
I'm Jeannie. Hi, Jeannie.
Helen.
my name's Chelsea.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm Emily. I'm part of the staff liaison.
Yeah.
Community facilities.
And I'm Bridget. I'm also staff.
And I'm Troy Sampson, the facilities department staff.
Cool.
Max Hay, vice chair.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah, glad to have you. But I think we could just dive in here with minutes. Did everybody have a chance to review those?
I glanced at them. I did not read anything, but
Yeah, they're pretty easy. Were there any adjustments that anyone wanted to make? Any motions like to actually approving said minutes?
I move that we approve these minutes.
I second it.
All right, we'll consider them moved as written. And then staff reports.
Yes. I have dumpster wheel project on here, but I did want to give a quick update on the meeting that we just had with the city commission before we talk about that. So I know that you all received the email that I sent that the staff will be making a secondary recommendation. I know that Max had a meeting 2 weeks ago. I don't know if any of you were able to see it. But we definitely got some feedback from the commission that they were interested in the idea of it being with a local artist, but no determination was made. So the decision with city staff was to give them an option to look at. So we did that today. And basically they had consensus to move forward on Monday with voting for Wildfire Elise Perfigno's design. And then the second thing we had today was I showed them the dumpster mural designs. They did not seem like they were wanting to have actual direction on it as far as, you know, going across the hall and making a formal vote. So it was more informational, like this is what we're doing. And they seemed to really like the designs, and there was no, I know we had one concern about one of them that had the gun in the picture in the design, but they didn't have any comments about that. So I think we're good to move forward with what we have. So basically bringing us right into dumpster murals from there. The only thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today was the event. Looking back through old notes, I saw that you had talked about having two teams. Like there was going to be a prep team and like a SEAL team, and I don't know if you still want to do that. And if so, do we want to plan that now? Or we could talk about it in April. I just know that, you know, some of you may want to start planning what you're going to be doing. So Amanda, I don't know what you think. If you guys want to decide that today, or if you want to put that on the agenda for next month.
My guess would be that we maybe kind of leave that to next month, because then we'll be a little bit closer to the event and of which weekend it's going to, you know, potentially fall to. Or at least we'll be able to kind of look at the extended forecast and make like an educated guess. And yeah, I think too what might help is once we kind of figure out the supplies and kind of how we go about the supplies, that might help us figure out like the teams necessarily. Because I think there's one way of going about it where if we used like your paint sprayer to do the primer, if that's something you were still open to, or if we wanted to go the route of it just being kind of hand supplies that we'd all kind of quickly just go through, and that would kind of change supply costs and kind of how we'd go about it. And so that was kind of the one thought that came to mind, is wanting just to check with you and see if that's still something you're willing to consider, or if we should look at getting kind of a bunch of hand brushes and rollers and stuff like that.
I got sprayers, might as well use it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so do you think we would do, so I'm thinking for the primer, definitely, do you think we could also use it for the graffiti coating? I guess we'd have to kind of look at the, I might need to like read it that a little bit more.
Yeah.
See if it's like a certain nozzle head or something, because I think we would just want to figure out maybe what supply cost you would need to be able to, you know, run that paint sprayer, so that way it's like you're not having to kind of buy any costs or supplies out of your pocket, kind of thing. Yeah, because I think, and just for reference, we're hoping to do kind of have some dumpster murals painted this May, and yeah, four artists were selected, and I think a fifth alternate in case we have this supply budget to, or in case our budget's able to kind of stretch that far. But yeah, and then the hope is that we would do the prep and the post work for the artist to kind of just take some of the effort off of their plate. As far as supplies go, I did kind of come up with like a preliminary estimate to, you know, what those things would cost and what you'd need to kind of buy out of pocket. I think 2 gallons of, or no, 2 5-gallon things of Kills primer would be about like $200. And then one thing of the 5-gallon coating would be about $388, I think. Safety decals, which we just need to design and have you sent to the vendor, would be about $150. So my thought was, if we can do the 5 dumpsters, we can do 5 dumpsters if we keep the remaining costs under $264 approximately. If we start to get close to that, we probably want to just stick with the 4, just so it's, you know, or however that kind of works on your guys's side. But that's at least, because I know at one of our previous meetings we talked about what those supplies would cost, and so that's just kind of an estimate.
I think we're also gonna need something to cover the ground, whether it's just some plastic or tarps or something like that. And we talked about putting on pallets, but we could get those for free from somewhere.
Definitely.
Yeah, especially when we're spraying.
Definitely.
On tarps.
The squeam, or you know, whatever we can kind of get our hands on. Is there anything else with your paint sprayer that you can think of off the top of your head that you would need? And maybe just up until next month, you can kind of think on it.
Yeah, I can look at it, because I haven't personally used it.
Okay,
So I know I have all the spray heads,
cool, okay.
but I've never actually used it.
Maybe it'll be a learning lesson for all of us.
You might want to check and see if the graffiti coating can go in the sprayer.
That's what I was, yeah.
That might
Yeah,
be-
and I think it might be a particular nozzle head, if I remember right, from like the spec sheet. So maybe even if I can figure that out before our next meeting. Because that would help us decide if we just, you know, get a bunch of trays and just quickly kind of do it ourselves, which might just be just as easy. And then it's,
If all of us are doing it.
yeah, and especially since you would be doing a lot of the heavy lifting with the primer, it would just be less effort off of your, you know, so you're not having to be there for the full, you know, prep and for the Sunday kind of sealing.
Well, I don't mind.
That's true. The rollers are, anybody can do those.
Exactly. So maybe we just plan on that. I'm thinking that can all be kept under $264, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know people have rollers around. I can probably get 2 or 3 rollers.
Yeah, same.
Oh, I have so many rollers.
From painting all the apartments.
Yes.
Bring them on down.
Oh, gosh, so many in all different sizes.
Is there specific locations for these?
Yeah, so the city's picked as like they're kind of city properties. So I believe this property, the Civic Center. I'm trying to remember the other ones.
The Law Justice Center
On Justice Center.
and the Chamber Building number 4 for sure.
For sure.
And then the 5th one will either be Grand Street or the golf course. So,
Well, and then we're hoping either May 3rd or May 10th for when this would occur, depending on weather.
11 and 12 in my calendar. 23rd is a Friday.
It's, yeah, it's May 4th and then it's alternate if there's not. But
4 or 5.
we'll be starting on Friday with getting them going. And priming them on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like prep day, paint day, and then sealing day is just Sunday, so then by Monday morning, they can kind of go to their new locations.
So what day on prep? Thursday?
I think a Friday.
Friday.
With that,
Is that Mother too?
It
probably.
is, yeah. Yeah, it is, yeah, on the 12th.
Yeah, so maybe we really hope for May
Let's
3rd,
try for the third,
Yeah.
yeah.
just guarantee that available and not stretch so thin.
For my presentation for the demonstration. And then the last thing I would like to do is to decide which location is the one, which design. If we could look at those real quickly.
So the one with
That's.
with the flower coming out of it.
And I just told the commission that we would kind of do similarly like we did with the traffic signal boxes and kind of match what design goes with the location.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah, it was there.
So good.
Only for a moment.
There you go.
Feel bad, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta use stuff here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this was actually the or the presentation I just gave them. But, if those scored on, I told them how to score and I showed them these. So, I'll let you guys discuss. But if you want to take a peek at it real quick, just to give you a refresher on what they were. It's this one, the pandas, which they seem to really like. They laughed at them. Yeah. Yeah, you can go back.
None of them scream location specific to me.
No.
It makes it a little more challenging. I mean, maybe we can go, I'd say that maybe. Do we, so the bubble, the final one, those bubbles, that's the fifth alternate, okay. So basically that one would either be golf course or Grand Street. Is Probably how we'd go about.
We could do that. Yeah, then we don't have, I mean, we could, if we determine for sure we could do five, we could come back and reassess. But I did want to, the reason I wanted to try to decide now is because they do have different size dumpsters at those locations, and that way we can tell the artist as early as possible what size they'll have, so that if they need to scale their artwork for that, they can have time to do.
And have the artists committed to both of those weekends for possible
They
things, so
were told, but that doesn't mean when it comes time to
might,
actually
we might use the
contract with
fifth
them,
alternate if somebody bails or can't make it.
even the sixth, right?
When I think of the ones that are probably the most visible, it would probably be the Chamber Building. And then the city building. I feel like
Civic Center's on a pretty
Civic
busy
Center,
street.
yeah.
Civic Center.
I like that one for the Civic Center. Or
Pardon?
with the. Sign next to
Oh, which one?
this one.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, I originally thought this one would be nice for the chamber, but that would make the fire tower within view of the fire tower, which is a big no for me.
A double dose,
That one is just lovely.
yes.
Civic Center's dumpster's the biggest of all of
Biggest.
them. Chambers is the smallest. And the other ones, I believe, are the same size. Lawn Justice is in an alley. And then City County is usually behind Griffith's.
I think that
Keep in mind.
the
We're
raccoons
backing up
for
to
the
But there's a great view of the city county dumpster
just
from
county, the
park.
municipal, is it municipal
Just
court,
inside.
which
The Law and Justice.
law and
Center.
justice, because you know, they are kind of like banditos. And you'll find them in alleys.
Yeah, and if the dumpster's in an alley, I think
Yeah.
that could be kind of fitting.
I mean, I like the one with the gun too.
I like that one, but I think it might
One
be a
of
little,
those.
if you want that one here.
Yeah, the one with
She
the
wants
gun.
the gun
seems
one here.
like real graffiti.
I just love that one.
Let's see, birds. That might be good for Chamber of Commerce.
That's true, the chamber has a lot of sky visible from right there.
Definitely.
Match that blue.
Yeah, that one for me is either Law and Justice or,
She wants it here.
oh, you do?
Yeah, we
It's
should
a
do
grand
it
street.
here.
If you're down, we're
I
down.
love this is my favorite one. But,
Yeah, how does everyone else feel about
and I
that?
like the
Yeah.
side view is
I like
really
the
cool,
side view.
and then you see from park. So
Absolutely.
people are like at the stoplight, they'll see it all the time.
That's the direction the sunset is too. Those colors look nice.
Mhm.
in the Sunset.
Yeah.
Alright, and you said that blue one for the Civic Center. So basically that leaves the bubbles for golf course or Grand Street, whichever route we could go.
So was the trash pandas Lawn Justice?
Yes.
And then Frosty Blight was Chamber. And then the
Yes.
Wildflowers is. So. Civic is dumpster depth blue. City.
Oh,
What
county.
Oh, that's the Wildflower, yeah. was forgetting what the fourth location is. Okay, sending clouds for evening. Thank you guys. Awesome. Easy peasy.
Dennis, and maybe for our next meeting, we could come up with, yeah, we'll just kind of touch base again on the dumpster day and any other kind of supply thoughts that kind of come up. And maybe this is, yeah, probably the right time to ask too, just like a check-in for the community collaboration application.
Yes, so back on March 20th, I sent it to the city attorney for review, and I mentioned that at the last meeting. I didn't hear back from her, so it was on my radar today, so I double checked in, and she said that, sorry I didn't get back to you sooner. I think this sounds like a good process, and the materials make sense to me. Is that all you need from me? Let me know next. So we have the go ahead. So I will start getting that up and out. And did you send a graphic, or was that the dumpster?
I just sent you a graphic yesterday.
Okay,
I
so
just
I can
basically
see
used
her
our previous images. I know,
Okay.
sorry.
I will get that posted. It'll probably be early next week before I get to it. 'Cause I'm not planning to be there tomorrow.
Totally. I think that should give us plenty of time. So yeah, I just made this graphic. And so, yeah, if you need a QR code, just let me know, or you can just stick one in there,
Okay.
however you'd like to do it. So,
Okay.
yeah, that'll be exciting. So I think at our next meeting, then we'll be able to review those applications. Hopefully find somebody to give some money to. Right. All right. I think we can get into our strategic planning document. So this is something that we've kind of just been working on slowly the last couple years, where when me and our fellow board member Ramsey first started, it was kind of a little rudderless. And so we decided that we kind of found some strategic plans from public art committees across Montana and kind of use that as a basis for ours to be able to kind of be able to plan a little bit further ahead. And kind of be able to see things in a bigger picture, you know, especially when our terms last, say, 3 years, you know, what can we accomplish in that time? And, you know, how do we kind of piece things out so it's like reasonable for everybody? So that's this document that we'll also kind of, we've got in our Dropbox and we'll send to you. And I just kind of made some updates, just taking out 2022, now that we've kind of moved forward a little bit. And once they pull that up, I can kind of just quickly take us through it. But the hope is that can kind of be our guideline. So then when we do a budget request in October, and so that's when we ask or we could kind of plan out projects for the commission to then consider for summer 2026. So we kind of have to work really, you know, think really far ahead on these things. And so that kind of helps us to like make sure we've got all of our ducks in a row. And I'm pretty sure most of us have kind of looked through this, so I don't think we need to kind of go over it kind of word for word.
But we meet at 5:30.
Oh, we do. Good catch.
On Wednesday.
Nice. See, I knew you guys would catch. Basically, yeah, these were just kind of the goals that we wanted to use that depending on what projects we're pursuing, we kind of always have that to kind of come back to. Yeah, just beautify Helena, you know, with native identity, dynamic nature, diverse citizenship, great opportunities for local and statewide artists, which I think kind of after the Lindale tunnel, maybe in future kind of jury selections, we'll maybe consider that as a part of the point scoring rubric, just as like as a note. And but yeah, basically this document's kind of our 5-year kind of vision plan. And you can scroll down a little bit of trying to find like an alternating focus between like smaller projects, kind of easier to reach opportunities for say like local artists or, you know, not huge big name artists, as well as trying to find larger projects that are kind of take a little bit more of a lift and more money and kind of more planning. And then also every year we try and find, additional funding sources. We have been pursuing having the city of Helena consider implementing a new construction fee, like a percent for art tax. That Missoula has a similar program and Bozeman does as well. So we're going to be bothering Tim here coming up and trying to be a little bug in his ear. And so Max, if you're okay with that, I'll CC you on those.
Yes, please.
That would be awesome. Because our former gal Jenny that was a great spearheader for that. Just ended her term here in December, I think. But yeah, and then also like on a yearly basis, also kind of considering maintenance needs for existing public artworks, assess those needs and, help contract any maintenance that's needed. Other kind of yearly goals would be, outreach and awareness, how do we actively engage in the community, sharing projects on social media, and as well as working on having an updated information catalog and the public art map with any new installations. We've got a very up-to-date map now on the City of Helena's website, but just kind of always making sure we have that up to date and any new installations added as we go. As well as governance, recruit to fill any vacated seats, which I believe we have one right now, right? Since I think Miss Laura dropped off. So if anybody knows anybody, let them know we've got a spot open. And so, yeah, I think we could just kind of quickly go down into year 1, 2023. So this is just what we just did last year. So, utility box wraps, a community club, the Centennial Trail Tunnel. And so, I basically used 2023 and then kind of copy and pasted it in all future years so we can kind of edit out information and update information as we want.
Do artists get paid or they just get their supplies paid for if they get chosen, if they're
for the
proposal.
dumpsters?
I'm thinking like these projects from this year
So this year,
or last year.
the Elise had all of her, she had to do all of her supplies herself as part of that 15,000.
But you got paid
But she did.
50,000.
But she got paid
Got it.
15,000.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that's for her and to cover the cost of supplies.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's come out of that.
Got it.
Yeah, so those amounts are like the total amount for that project that we've kind of allocated. And the utility boxes, those are wrapped by like a vendor, and then the artist is just paid for the ownership of their artwork.
Sure.
And community collaboration is basically just finding someone in the community who's doing a public art project that we can kind of collaborate on funds and kind of make things happen and be able to bring projects kind of to fruition. And so we did in 2023 it was the 6th Ward mural, I believe, or that was even 22. But yeah, I think you can scroll down here because a lot of this ends up just being and so then maintenance, this is just the things we have talked about kind of in previous meetings of kind of ongoing things that do need maintenance, and we'll eventually kind of need to figure out a game plan for how to either assist the city in kind of some of those maintenance needs if they're really manageable, or figuring out kind of what's needed on some of those things.
And on that point too, the BID also has a team of graffiti removal people that do that all downtown anyways.
Totally.
And so they've probably already been doing that on some of the things that we're charged with maintaining.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's only the Bullwhacker statue that they need to. That they kind of just been missed a few times, but I've been meaning to reach out to John about that.
Yeah, John's no longer there.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, so I think there's some opportunities there, hopefully. A lot of things that we don't have to manage, but just kind of keeping track of what needs work around town, I think is always good. Have a better idea of what we're working with. And as far as like outreach and awareness, Ramsey's done chalk donations at like pop-up events, kind of in honor of Chalk Up Helena, which used to be like what HPAC used to do of like a chalk competition. As well as just trying to do outreach and awareness of that public art map, and we did some board vacancy printouts as well. and a plaque for the mural. And then as we go into 2024, these are the things we have currently going on. So I just kind of outlined the maintenance needs that we've noted here this year as well. I think in a couple months ago, we talked about replacing the signal box wrap at Euclid and Benton with the same David Goodson piece. And so hopefully as we get a little bit closer to summer, maybe getting on that vendors list sooner rather than later, I think would be good, just because I know their summer schedule really fills up. Just to get that replaced. But you can scroll down. Yep, just more outreach and awareness. And so yeah, this is basically year 3. These are the things that we just proposed in October to then kind of be pursuing in this next fiscal year. Which I think that fiscal year would begin in July of this year and go to the following June. But we requested 8 signal box wraps because there's about 18 left around town that are blank, at least, probably more by the day, just with more intersections going up. And then as well as the Memorial Park bench mural, we're hoping to replace that, which has been replaced approximately every 15 years since the 80s. But yeah, so this is I just kind of updated this to get it up to date with all the things we've done in the last year. And as we move forward, I think this is where it would be really nice to either put a subcommittee together or we set a time sometime in the next couple months to start to brainstorm, what these projects are and how we figure out the who, what, when, where, why to, making it feasible. And so I think that's something I'd kind of like to open it up to the group and kind of see how we should kind of go about coming up with, this next round of projects, whether it is, a smaller subcommittee or if we set time in our next, couple months worth of meetings to really kind of strategize. I think I just kind of using the template that we've gone with, if we were to kind of every year alternate between like signal boxes and dumpster murals, but I think that's kind of pending the success of this year and seeing, if it is really, what the kind of community response is, if it's worth pursuing again. Or if we move to some other sort of kind of smaller scale opportunity for, say, local and state artists. Yeah, I think what would need some fine tuning and some detail work is just figuring out what that large scale project might be. And yeah,
And this would be what we present in October.
Yes, and so yeah, this would be what we come up with in October. So we've got about 6 months, but with summer and everything, it just it goes fast. As we've seen, every month it kind of looks a little bit faster.
With the band shell especially, it would be nice to know who we're collaborating with and what sort of assistance we can expect from the Parks Department and other funding sources.
I think too with the band shell, at least with this the most recent kind of budget request, it's like, if I remember right, we didn't have to like give like a dollar amount necessarily, and so it's kind of shifted over the last few years of us kind of coming up with this amount, and I think now we're able to kind of just have like a general idea, and more of just like what the project is, any of the details that they can then help to kind of formulate what that budget might be. And, for those projects, that could be something, there's a few ways we can go about it, whether we all want to just, take a couple months to just think about things ourselves and then come to the group as a group and kind of present some of those ideas. And then we can kind of figure out which ones we want to pursue and kind of build more details for, whether that person wants to have a subcommittee or just come every month and kind of give an update. And
maybe like you have a great idea and then you need this subcommittee, but we don't know. I like that idea. Think of some things around town and then we can all have present our ideas, and we have them at like the next meeting or.
That'd be awesome.
And they all have to be on city property, right? Like murals.
I don't believe so. I can check into that further. I mean, a lot of our public art is not necessarily on city property, right?
Yeah, when you look at like the mural, women's mural, it's on a private building,
Yeah,
so it's in collaboration with the property owner. And then
so
there's
that's
usually.
fine, 'cause I got a lot of locations I can think of,
Right.
not a lot of city.
Well, I know that's kind of what I thought too, but maybe what we can do as we develop these ideas, is they can kind of go into two buckets of, these are ones are, on city-owned properties or in collaboration with those government agencies. And these ones would be more kind of those community collaborations. Because then as we build these up, we can have a catalog, but then depending on what this committee looks like, 2 years from now, they have like a whole store
So
full.
doing like bigger projects, versus smaller ones every other year, maybe then we can pick from the, bucket idea or the bucket of ideas and so.
Totally. I think it would make it a lot easier for everybody moving forward too. Yeah, and I think maybe what we can plan to do is either in May or June, because probably April we'll want to leave for community collaborations. May, we might be a little burnt out from dumpster painting, but we'll kind of wait and see. But yeah, because I just know in the summer then it's hard to get quorum and suddenly it's October, but just for everyone to kind of keep in mind what some of those projects, might be, or, start kind of writing down some notes and some ideas. And we can kind of all come together and have like a big kind of brainstorm session this summer. And figure out kind of what comes to the top. That's a great plan. It'd be awesome. Thank you. And yeah, I think I'll make those kind of just small little admin updates to this document, and I'll put it back in the Dropbox. And I think the only other thing that I've added since we've looked at this last is the next document we'll review, which is like the maintenance plan. Basically anything that would be up for maintenance at a certain point can now be plug and play into that strategic plan, so that way they can anticipate some of these bigger kind of conservation costs and things like that. And so it's not kind of dealing with things retroactively and trying to just be more proactive with maintenance and preservation and everything like that. But yeah, I think if you want to just keep scrolling, make sure there's nothing else that I'm missing. Oh, actually, if you want to go up a little bit. So this is like a good example, like on maintenance. So like the palimpsest mural series turns, 15 years old, and the Spider-Woman mural also turns 25 years old. So kind of just having those ideas in mind for, how long some of this stuff's been around. And then I think that'll kind of help make the case for, either conservation or replacement in some of these cases, or restoration.
What's the palimpsest?
That's the Chinese takeout
Oh,
one
okay,
next to the
that's,
windbag.
okay.
Oh, that one's like tucked back there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the ones that's like on either side of those columns. Right, yeah, and I think it just goes into 2027, and then it's, just that same plug and play. But as we kind of move through the years, this document can always kind of get updated, but it's just to kind of serve as a rough template for, back moving forward. Great, all right, well, I think we could.
Thank you for putting that together.
Yeah, totally. I was happy to. But maybe we could just quickly move on to the maintenance plan. Sorry, I know this week's meeting is very admin heavy. But basically, this document that I put together was based off of just the last few months of conversations of, wanting to be preemptively, figure out a plan. So even some signal boxes are going to be turning 10 in, 2028, but if we're already planning for 2026, it's just good to kind of get on top of some of this stuff. So basically, I just took our last few years of notes and started this as like a rough idea. And then I thought we could kind of quickly go through some of these different points, and then if anyone has any ideas for, you know, what to add, or, you know, other kind of points that we should include in this. And then the thought is that this would kind of help the city moving forward, you know, with, yeah, either, you know, restoration, preservation, or conservation, or replacement in some cases. And there might be some different kinds of art that I haven't considered in here yet that we could definitely add that I just didn't know anything about or knew where to start. And just even something as simple as information plaques, you know, I think that would definitely vary by sign and style. But the thought would just be they would be repaired and replaced as needed, which is kind of pretty straightforward. But then if we go down to something more like the traffic signal box art, this is where I kind of start to break it down into like, here are the roads, you know, that the committee can kind of consider, or that this city can consider. And typically they're warranted for 5 years, but the average lifespan is 10 years. We don't have any in Helena that have gone beyond 10, so we don't know if they start to degrade at that point, or if they just start to fade, or if they just are fine. I was going off of, I know downtown Bozeman replaced theirs after their most iconic ones after 10 years, just because they were in very like high profile locations.
And then did they replace them with different art, or did they replace it with the same?
different art. I think just in at least the locations that I knew about, just because they had been there since before I went to college. So basically, and then I kind of just went off of, you know, say situations that have come up, and then kind of inserted that as like an example. So if a signal box is damaged and crashed into, and then basically traffic signal department comes in and replaces it, and basically we could either, you know, plan A is, you know, have the same design reinstalled, as we're hoping to do with David Gibson's, or we could decide that it would be left blank until a new design is selected in a future RFP. And then I did note that, you know, that previous artwork, we probably want to catalog it, since the city technically owns it. You want to keep track of those things in case there is a future use for it.
20 years, we can do a throwback.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so say in the instance that a signal box wrap is peeling or fading, say if that's before 5 years, you know, they could, city could request a warranty replacement. But after 5 years, you know, we have like a few options there, and I think this would be something that would be like on a case by case basis, but either like leave it as is, have the same design reinstalled, or leave it blank. And then if a signal box wrap reaches 10 years, that's when there's like a few different options that could happen. Of we could either decide to have the same one reinstalled if we really like it, could leave it as is until it deteriorates, leave it as is until a new design is selected. I think that's it, all I did for that one. But yeah, and then I kind of just marked in 2028 the 6 that would then be up for this this plan. So I think once the committee kind of gets closer to that date, they could then kind of decide using this frame. I think you could scroll down. Actually, maybe scroll up. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing left on signal boxes. Is there anything else? Maybe we'll just, as we go through each one, is there anything else anyone can think of for signal boxes that we should consider, or like situations that I might have like missed? Or any other thoughts of kind of what should go along those lines?
Covered all the bases. It's damaged or else deteriorated. You know, just from time.
Yeah, that's one of those things too. Once we get closer to 10 years, we'll have a better
Then we'll
idea.
know. Yeah, we're kind of just guessing. Like,
Exactly.
So far, they get hit by cars before they.
Way
move out.
way more
10
often.
year, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I think we can move on to outdoor murals then, because I think this is somewhere where there's a lot more kind of room for interpretation. But it does seem like the average lifespan for a mural is about 15 to 25 years, and that's kind of what I've seen online as well. You know, usually because they're typically constructed with latex or spray paints, and just Montana weather is so brutal on outdoor public art. as we're finding out on Rodney Street. And then I just kind of tried to mark any kind of just general, annual maintenance that should probably be considered. Whether it should just be, routine cleaning with like just a hose, that potentially the parks department could do in some cases. And then, yeah, just wanting to record any signs of damage or wear. If anyone sees that, or if it's ever kind of reported to us. And then also, I think a lot of artists in the past have done this, but for all future outdoor murals, making sure that artists include like their own guide on the upkeep, maintenance, and materials used. So that way we've got a list of like the exact paints they used and things like that in case teams need to come down the line and fix vandalism in that way. So yeah, in the first instance, if a mural is vandalized with graffiti, basically, just photo records, cleaned as fast as possible. And it seems like the Vandal Clean, like super graffiti cleaner, works on surfaces that are covered with the anti-graffiti sealant or without. I think one just makes it last a lot longer and holds up a lot more. But basically that's the only two options for if it's vandalized. If a mural is becoming deteriorated or becoming unsightly, basically just record the damage and try and schedule maintenance repairs to prevent further deterioration. So if that's say like water damage or a leak or serious peeling or cracking or fading, that's going to start to really take the whole thing down, trying to kind of stop that and its tracks. And after 15 years, most murals will begin to show signs of aging. So this is where some of those upcoming dates come in, like the Palimpsest series turns 15 in 2026, which I thought was interesting that it's already been 15 years. Time flies. The 150th anniversary turns 15 in 2029, Heart of Gold in 2032, just a ways away. But basically, once like a mural reaches that age, wanting to do kind of preservation, or I guess this is something where it could either be decided, whether it's preserved or replaced in some instances. So yeah, just regular maintenance, and then conservation if possible, like adding a protective UV coat, if the artist okays it, if the maintenance budget's there for it, if it could use it and be helped by it, that's something we could consider. Or the alternate option is replacement. Is the artwork considered a cultural landmark, or could a new design bring fresh vitality, similar to say the Memorial Park band shell? So as the committee kind of moves forward, kind of using that as a guideline. And then if you want to scroll down, if a mural reaches 25 years, it's definitely going to be showing aging. And so then going off of kind of previous records, this would mean that it's been in 2030, it will have been 25 years since the women's mural was restored the last time. So just with that in mind, then that next restoration should probably be scheduled for 2030 to kind of keep it alive. Same with the Spider-Woman youth art turns 25 in 2026, which I thought was pretty funny that it's been that long. But yeah, so then we have the options of same with before preservation or replacement.
Before we move on to there, just while we're thinking about it, did we ever get legal to contact something to renew our easement with the women's mural? That was something
Speak
about
to
8
that.
months ago. I think we talked
Yeah,
about
I remember that.
that one.
So I reached out to the attorney's office at the time. They were fairly new people in the office. And they were going to look into it. They just.
Probably out there
It's not
for
part of the cream that roast and stuff, but I think we just need to reach out again and do some digging on our end.
That'd be smart to get that in paper before we start restoring it.
Yeah, putting money into it.
And they just put a bay window in the middle of it.
Right.
Moves the lawn, yeah.
Especially if it changes ownership.
Exactly, yeah, exactly, you just never, yeah, just never know. Are there any other thoughts that anyone has as far as like outdoor murals go, or anything else that we should consider? Yeah, I basically kind of just use that same copy and paste as we go down with the dumpsters, whether it's vandalized, whether it's deteriorating, which this is another item that we don't know how these are gonna deteriorate. Even the Rodney ones are showing signs of wear, but that's to be expected when it's being picked up with
Right.
dump trucks on a daily basis. And things like that, but I think it's one of those things, even if it's deteriorating, it kind of adds to the
The dumpster,
it's
so
a
yeah.
dumpster, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, so say in those cases, like that it is deteriorating, if there was a maintenance, we could ask the artist to repair that design, in some way. Or, just leave it as is until it becomes unsightly. And then in the instance that it does become unsightly, which I think that interpretation would probably be up to the whoever is there and is like, get this thing out of here. And basically it would just be replaced by the city transfer station, or that is, with a blank box. And then same if it were to reach an estimated lifespan of 10 years, you have to repair the design, leave it as is, or replace with a blank. So these definitely don't have quite the same return as like the signal boxes, and not knowing how they're gonna last, but I think it's definitely worth playing around with. Yeah, if you want to keep scrolling, I think there's just one more page. This is kind of just where I just started with notes, because each is so relative. We have so many different sculptures in town, and they each have their own kind of needs. But these are just kind of general overview that I kind of found online, of kind of what should you kind of just use going forward, if it's like the Parks Department, never using a power washer, how to check bronze, but just basically just reiterating that any repairs and maintenance should be completed by like trained conservators or art professionals or the artists themselves. But yeah, and I think with sculptures too, that's going to be kind of a case by case basis, as kind of situations arise that we could then kind of use as examples to kind of plug back into this. Yeah, and then I think for my final one is just historic ghost signs. Basically, I think in previous years, we had played with the idea of, trying to restore, looking at what restoration costs would be. And I think generally the consensus was it was just, at the time, it would have been our entire budget, just to restore one of those. And it wasn't even by like a trained conservator, there was just a lot of things there. But basically, I just wanted to iterate that like any conservation efforts should always be done by like trained professionals if possible. And I think just focusing on preserving the original artwork and partial restoration, and not a brand new mural over the top. But I definitely think the city of Helena at some point would benefit from contracting like a professional conservator to come take stock of all of the historic ghost signs around town and then get those estimates. So it seems like that's the big first step in preservation, and some of those historic preservation groups being able to work together. It's just not knowing what those costs are to begin with. And I feel like if that would be a huge barrier.
They ask us.
Yeah.
We get a lot of questions of how much does a mural cost? How much does, yeah. It'd be nice to have all those numbers.
Totally, just especially as those start to, get older and older. But I did find that I think that HPAC in 2017 did restore the Palmquist ghost sign by themselves for $15,000, and that did turn out pretty good. But yeah, and then I think just at the bottom, I just kind of went through those outstanding maintenance needs that we've kind of just mentioned over the last year or two. As well as maybe what maintenance needs we could, if we wanted to as a group, could explore on I think the Last Chance historical plaques downtown. Kathy's brought me to those and kind of just showed they all need to be cleaned and waxed, but even depending on how the summer goes, that could be something that we as a group, get like a couple buckets and scrubbers and go down and
Yeah.
clean them up.
A few
But
hours.
yeah, it just kind of depends on kind of where our energy goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is just kind of a living document that can kind of be updated as needed. Or if anyone has any ideas or as examples arise, we can just add this in, just kind of keep it for our records.
That's great.
That's awesome. Nice job, Amanda,
Thanks.
Very
Yeah, I
well.
was on a roll.
I'll say.
A lot of admin stuff. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else for that. We can just kind of move on to our last few items here. Which would be next on that list is public arts events and promotion opportunities. I know that Spring Art Walk is coming up May 10th. And there's also a summer art walk and week-long festival happening this summer. With the summer art walk night being July 19th. And the reason I wanted to mention that is that's something maybe if we as a group want to consider, if there's some way we want to be involved, whether if we have public art maps available at that point, chalk donation, that's something to kind of consider. I don't think we need to decide right now, but that would be a great promotion opportunity. And I think we'd probably want to check with Ramsey. She's our
Just
chalk
keep her up the
queen.
chalk.
Yeah, keep her up the chalk.
I'm always happy to do the chalk things too.
Mhm.
I like being at those events.
Yeah, and I think that there's enough going on. I think we could get involved in a fun way somewhere downtown and use the things we already have and provide some sort of outreach. So I think as we get closer to that, we can talk more as a group and see who's available and what we'd maybe like to do there.
You know the dates of the summer art festival?
I know the Friday night is the July 19th.
Yeah, so it's that week.
Mhm. That week through Sunday, I think. And I know they are like accepting kind of submissions for say performers or artists or whatever up until I think the end of May.
Who's putting this on?
I think it's Omerta
Mhm.
still. So if that was something that we wanted to officially get in the books and have be like HPAC is here doing this at this time, that's something maybe by May we can decide and get that in so it's officially on their agenda. Yeah, any other public art events anyone knows about? Yeah, hearing none, let's see, any other announcements you wanna go over? I think just that we have that one board, vacancy spot, so. Tell your friends, tell your,
People that I invited, I don't know if they were-
yeah, tell your friends.
Yeah.
Okay, we can get that final spot filled. Yeah, and then I guess just as far as items for the next agenda, hopefully we'll be able to review some community collaboration applications, so I think that'll be really fun. And then we'll just kind of do more prep for the dumpster day, and I mean, could just talk a little bit more about any future project planning, if anyone does have any ideas at that point they wanted to just kind of mention. Otherwise, we can maybe plan on May and June for some of that kind of more detailed project planning. All right, so is there any public comment before we consider motions to adjourn? Hearing none, I know there's no page here today. That's our public comment. Well, yeah, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn for the day.
I second it.
Thank you, Sally. Sweet, thank you guys.
That's-
That's exactly an hour.
Oh,
Boom, you got the blood.
yeah.
Time.
We did. Go team. Thank you for doing.
You did a lot of work.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sad and read it, but it was.
I can't help myself.
It's helpful.
Yeah.
So when we do know,
I don't have Rodney stuff anymore, so now I'm hyper focused. Thanks.